Funding for this video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. What's up, punks? And welcome to video. Welcome back here, and if you're fresh meat, welcome on by. Hi, my name is Allie, and around these parts we balance daily life alongside disability, celebrate mundanity, and read a whole lot of books. Happy New Year, happy 2024. I'm so proud of you for surviving. That's a huge deal. Look at us. Who would have thought? What are you looking forward to this year? Personally, I'm excited to be a year older and wiser. I'm excited to be happier and healthier than ever before. And I'm especially looking forward to a bunch of great books that are coming out pretty soon. So I figured what better way to crescendo into this new year, to shake off the sleepies. The seasonal depression is thicker than ever. You're probably exhausted from some holiday parties, New Year's parties, family stuff, friend stuff, who knows? Life is exhausting, but it's also amazing. So today we're going to focus on the amazing and give ourselves some things to look forward to this year. So let's get cozy, get a warm drink, and let's talk about some books, shall we? See, now I don't know if I'm gonna get to every single book on this list this year because there are 35 on my list, and my TBR is so huge already. It's a beautiful, beautiful problem to have. I'm not complaining, but these are the books that are currently on my radar. Also, I tried my best to provide a month for each book that's coming out, but the thing is that timelines change sometimes. Also, for some of these books, multiple websites gave me different dates, but also there was a book that's coming out next year, but then when I went to pre-order it, it said it's available. So I'm just so confused of what's real and what's not. My point is that depending on where you live, publishing is going to be different. So if there's any title that you're excited for, just Google it. I believe in you. I tried my best, but you know, sometimes things aren't true. Some categories that I have are fiction. So we've got horror, lit fic, cozy fantasy, everything in between. There's a couple of sequels and prequels in there. That's exciting. As well as a few books that I found out are being translated to English. You know, they've been published for a little bit, but they're coming to an English language shelf near you pretty soon. I've also got graphic novels, memoirs. There's a few nonfictions that I'm stoked about, and then branching off of that nonfiction, I've got autism specific nonfictions to end us off. So let's just get started. I'm looking at my laptop because obviously these books haven't come out yet. So I don't have them to hold up for you, nor do I know anything about them except for what I have in my notes. So that explains why we will be splitting our eye contact. Okay, let's just jump into it. First, I have a couple of sequel prequel situations. The first one is Kitty by Elle McNichol. Oh my gosh, it's coming out in April. This is technically a prequel to A Kind of Spark, which is one of my favorite books from last year if you saw my last video. A Kind of Spark was a super healing middle grade featuring an autistic protagonist. This one in particular follows Kitty, as the title suggests, who was Addie's autistic sister. And Kitty has a twin sister who wasn't autistic, and this book takes place 5 years before A Kind of Spark took place. I hope this makes sense. It's a prequel, different characters, same family. You know the characters from the previous book. It's gonna be great, okay? Also, I watched Books and Lala's anticipated releases of 2024, and she mentioned towards the end that Bunny by Mona Awad might have a prequel coming out in 2024. And when you look it up, there are a few videos from a few people who had attended some events hosted by Mona Awad, like her publishing tours for Rouge. And apparently in her talks in those events, she said that Bunny would be getting a prequel this year. Is that true? I don't know. You can't find any information online about this. There's no title, there's no date, but I really liked Bunny. So I'm gonna believe that this is true, just to add some spice to my life. You know? Sorry if I'm spreading fake news. And as far as sequels are concerned, we have Emily Wilde's Map of the Motherlands, which is a sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which is a magical romance book that has like footnotes about learning about fairies, and it takes place in the forest, and I think it's a Grumpy Sunshine situation. I fully intended to read the first book last year, but unfortunately the health wasn't helping, and I missed out on a lot of books that I had fully planned to devour. I am double excited to fall into this world. Speaking of cozy fantasies that I meant to get to last year, we have A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. I meant to read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by this very same author last year. This one is about a witch who gets a second chance to get her magical powers back. She's running an inn. There's a talking fox. It's a romance, cozy mystery. Just sign me up. These just seem so cute. This is what's so exciting about anticipated releases, is that there are quite a few on this list that have me so jazzed to read books that are on my shelves. It's not just about reading what's new and hot. What's new and hot is inspiring me to pick up what's crusty and dusty. That's a joke, obviously. These books are not crusty and dusty. I'm equally as jazzed about what I already own than what's coming out. I'm just excited about all books, if you haven't already noticed. So, okay, now we've got some regular fiction. They're not sequels or nothing. The first one is Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. I read Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead last year, and I loved it so much. This one is about a paranoid character named Enid who is obsessed with space and has a phobia of bald men. It's another lesbian contemporary fiction, so I can safely assume that we're going to be exploring human connection through a unique lens, but it seems like it's not just romantic, which is great. We're also connecting with long lost half-sisters. I have no doubts that this will slap. No doubts whatsoever. I'm pre-ordering it immediately because it's coming out like now. A book that I hadn't heard anything about until researching for this video, but now it's on my radar and now I'm psyched about it, is Significant Others by Zoe Eisenberg. This is a story about two best friends who were roommates in college, and apparently it's like a super codependent kind of situation. And now one of them is pregnant. I believe they're in their 30s. Yeah, they're late 30s. And they decide to raise the baby together. But nowhere does it say that this is like a queer or lesbian book. And they were roommates. The blurb says that it's an intimate look at who we belong to and why. We shall see. The cover looks cool too. We also have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is a summer romance. This is from the author who wrote Part of Your World. It became one of my top romances of last year. So I do think that I will be picking up all of her other romances because I just had so much fun. I'm so excited to kick my feet and hee while reading this. It comes out in April, so maybe I'll save it for the summer just to, you know, have a splash of fun in there. And what just seems like a fun, silly little summer fling is probably going to have some super strong themes and just cover some deeper ground, much like her other book did. So yeah. No questions asked about this one for me. Also on my list, I have I Love You So Much It's Killing Us Both by Mariah Stovall. This is another codependent friendship story, and it's about music and fandom, identity and sanity. It takes place in Los Angeles in the punk scene. It's a debut that comes out in February. Intrigue. We also have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager here. The cover was recently revealed. This is the thing. What I always say is even when I don't have a good time with Riley Sager, I have a good time with Riley Sager. So you know I will be pre-ordering this. But fun twist, y'all. This is Riley Sager's first male protagonist. That's right, we have a male main character. So I've heard some very valid complaints. Some people don't like how he writes women. That's allowed. If that's your only complaint, mayhaps this is the book for you. The synopsis is reminding me of Pen Pal a little bit, which is certainly unsettling because that book scared me quite a lot. It's about this man named Ethan. He's in his 40s now, but when he was like 10, he was having a slumber party with his best friend, and during their slumber party, he gets kidnapped. The best friend does, of Ethan. And now like 30 years later, all these strange things are unfolding, and so he wants to get to the bottom of it. I'm just so curious to see how this one goes. I also have While We Were Burning by Sarah Coffey on my list here. And what piqued my interest immediately was that it was described as Parasite meets Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. It's a twisty thriller about these two women who become friends, and they have questions about why the people in their lives have been killed. So it seems like what's spooky in this story are the injustices, the political and social wrongdoings of the world. So we've got race and class and how that affects female friendships. And what this book is doing is making me want to pick up Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. I have it on my TBR. I will also want to read Such a Fun Age before this next book comes out because it is Come and Get It by Kylie Reed. The blurb for this one doesn't give me too much information whatsoever. I know that it takes place at the University of Arkansas. We have a protagonist named Millie who's a senior resident assistant, and then a professor offers her a strange opportunity, and then things get twisty. Up next, I have How It Works by Miriam LaCroix. This is a surreal, dark, and queer story that seems to be butterfly effecty, you know, going back in time, changing things, a small thing, and then everything changes. It's about the choices we make. The couple in this book falls into a sea of hypotheticals, and each one paints a different portrait of possibilities. The cover looks so cool. This is definitely one of the books that I will not be missing out on this year if I can help it. We also have The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim here. Oh my gosh, am I so excited for this one, because this just has all of the flavors that I typically gravitate towards in stories. It's a mother-daughter relationship story. It's literary fiction, I believe, like literary fiction horror, and our protagonist's mother starts a new relationship with this man, and this man has these big blue eyes, and the daughter of the mother of the boyfriend becomes obsessed with his eyes, and based off the cover, it seems like it's an obsession in an eating way. Someone described our main character as deliciously demented. Just absolutely. This is ticking all the boxes for me. I think I'm going to love this one, like guaranteed. We also have The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. This is a gay witchy cozy fantasy that takes place on an island. It also seems to feature the grumpy sunshine trope, which I think is one of my favorite ones because that's kind of what my marriage is. I'm definitely Kitty Foreman. My husband is definitely Red Foreman. And so that representation is very lovely for me to see. We love a self-insert. Just based off the cover alone, this seems so far up my alley. It looks so wholesome. I'm just a slut for cozy fantasies, and I'm not sorry. Up next is Build a Girlfriend by Elba Luz, and this looks so cute. It's a queer YA romance that's described as reverse How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and our main character is like digging up all of their exes in order to learn what went wrong, what mistakes that they made, to then remedy all of them and become like the best partner ever. Our next category is the translated category, and this is a pretty difficult category because most of these books have been out for a little bit in their respected countries. It's pretty slim pickings to be ahead of the game in this category, at least I've found. Maybe I need to dig deeper, maybe I need to know my resources better, I don't know. But all I found were Japanese and Korean books. I know that those are very popular popular to be translated. My point is that if you know any books that are being translated this year to English that are from any other countries or languages, please let me know in the comments down below. First and foremost, I would like to show you this cover for The Kamigawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai, translated by Jesse Kirkwood. Oh my gosh. The fact that this one comes out in November, I think this is the book that comes out the latest in the year, and it's killing me. The blurb says, "What's the one dish you'd do anything to taste just one more time?" And this book is said to be for fans of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which, hello, that's me. It's about a special restaurant in Kyoto, and the father-daughter duo that owns it are able to recreate the food from their patrons' treasured memories. Like, this sounds so cute, and there's a cat on every cover that I can find, and all of them are equally adorable. Speaking of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, the 5th one is going to be translated for us this year to English. It's called Before You Forget Kindness. I haven't been able to find a date, so I don't know exactly when. You are probably familiar with the series already, especially if you watch this channel. It's about a magical cafe. The patrons can travel back in time. They just have to be back before the coffee gets cold, hence the name. They're quite special to me, so I'm really stoked to continue the series. But speaking of serious anticipation, as if that's not the theme of this entire video, Your Utopia by Bora Chung is coming out this year. Bora Chung wrote Cursed Bunny, which is a horror anthology collection that I read, I think, summer of 2022. And this author has completely changed my opinion on my feelings towards short stories. This is definitely, I think, my favorite collection of short stories is Cursed Bunny. The tales in this new collection span capitalism's destruction on the planet, dystopia, death, immortality, and an AI elevator that falls in love with a human. We love real life horrors. It's giving Black Mirror. I'm so psyched. I'm so psyched. And it will be translated by Anton Her. And last but not least in the translated category, we have Welcome to the Hyunam Dong Bookshop by Hwang Boryum, translated by Shanna Tan. This one says it comes out in January, but when I went to pre-order it, it's already available. So I don't know what the truth is, but I'm so excited. This one takes place in Seoul, and our main character is overworked and overwhelmed, and so she throws her hands up in the air and she says, you know what? This. I'm leaving my marriage, I'm leaving my job, and I am going to move to a super small town and open my own little cozy bookshop and live my truth. Say no more. Say no more. So that is that. We are now going to dive into our graphic novels, the ones that I'm super excited about 2024. Firstly, Lightfall by Tim Probert has a 3rd book coming out. That was one of my favorite graphic novel series from last year. Cozy, still adventurous, unlikely friendships, anxiety, seeing the light in the darkest of times. Just oh, cannot wait. But some newer ones are Lunar Boy by Jess and Sin Waboyo. This is a soft coming of age story about a boy who's from the moon but now lives on Earth with his adoptive mother, and he's struggling with school and friends, and he has a crush on his pen pal, and so he's calling to the moon begging for her to take him back. This cover is so cute, and I love cute graphic novels, so say no more, truly. We also have Food School by Jade Armstrong, and this follows Olive, who's in her 20s. She's recently dropped out of college, and now she is enrolling in a full-time outpatient program to face her eating disorder. She's entered eating disorder recovery, and the blurb says that as her relationship with food changes, her relationships with people changes, and the art style just looks so funky and cool. I'm sold. We also have Feeding Ghosts, a graphic memoir by Tessa Hills. I love graphic memoirs so much. I think they're such a fun way to experience people's stories. Superior genre, in my opinion. This one follows 3 generations of Chinese women, and it explores love and grief and identity and exile, and quote-unquote exposes the fear and trauma that haunt generations and the love that holds them together. I am such a sucker for when ghosts are an allegory for trauma. I'm gonna eat this one up. Speaking of memoirs, let's just dive right into the memoir category. We've got so many good ones coming out this year. First is Alphabetical Stories by Sheila Heti. The thing is that I read Motherhood last year and I quite liked it, but I wished it was nonfiction because I thought that it was actually Sheila Heti's thoughts for the longest time. It reads like nonfiction, and I just want to get inside of her head because I read Pure Color of the year before that, and it was one of the weirdest little books that I ever read. There's just something about Sheila Heti's writing and like storytelling and strangeness that scratches a particular itch for me. I think that this is where she's really gonna shine because she just seems like such a perfectly, wonderfully strange woman, and I'm so jazzed to get inside of her skull, you know? So this is 10 years of diary entries in alphabetical form, hence the title. Consider me so intrigued. I have already pre-ordered Hereafter by Amy Lynn. I follow Amy on Instagram. I think I just found her through looking up Bookstagram things, but I fell in love with her writing style because she would share her grief from time to time because she lost her husband very suddenly when he was just 32 years old, and then she started talking about how she was going to write a book about all of this, and my intrigue has been piqued ever since she first announced that. So she has such a way with words, and I'm just so excited. Excited seems like the wrong word, but I guess I mean like I'm just excited for her. I'm excited that she did read this. I'm excited that it's out soon, and I'm excited to learn from her insight and wisdom in experiencing this horrible tragedy. Up next is It Wasn't Roaring, It Was Weeping, Interpreting the Language of Our Fathers Without Repeating Their Stories by Lisa Jo Baker. This is a coming-of-age memoir, and it explores the hurt and prejudices that we inherit from our families. What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu was one of my favorite memoirs from last year, and it's all about Stephanie going back to her past, returning to her roots to unearth the trauma, but like in a good, productive, healthy way. And this one seems pretty similar, like a similar journey, but also obviously entirely different. So curious. This is why I use a microphone, by the way. That's the building's elevator. And when I don't use a microphone, I have to stop every time that happens. And sometimes it happens every 2 minutes. So, microphone haters, take a seat for a minute. Up next, we have... You see what I mean? Up next, we have Whiskey Tender, a memoir by Deborah Taffa. This one's about Indigenous identity. Our author is, quote unquote, a mixed tribe Native girl born on a reservation, and her grandparents were unfortunately victims of the boarding school made by white missionaries. It's about generational trauma as well, colonization, and how cultural narratives have been excluded from the alleged melting pot of America. This book is already in my cart. Another book that's already in my cart is Slow Noodles, a Cambodian memoir of love, loss, and family recipes by Kantha Wam. This one is compared to Crying in H Mart, which is one of my favorite books, and I can totally see why, because it's all about family and food. And apparently it features 20 recipes in there. I'm so excited. Our author spent 2 decades as a refugee before returning back to her home country. She's a founder of a women's development center. So all these experience paired with all those fun recipes, like, oh, it just sounds so good. And this is one of the best covers ever. Like, I know that this whole video is about anticipated books, but this is on the top of the list for me. Now let's just dive into the nonfiction. First, we have You Are Here, Poetry in the Natural World, which has been edited by Ada Limon. And Ada Limon is one of my favorite poets. I discovered her last year. You know, great naturey poems, great times, great writing. There are 50 poets featured in this one, and it apparently challenges how we think about nature poetry. And since that's my favorite flavor, it seems like no questions asked, I have to read this, you know? Another book on the list that makes me want to read another book is Disability Intimacy, Essays on Love, Care, and Desire by Alice Wong. I've been meaning to pick up Disability Visibility for so long. This is by the same author, similar themes, but entirely different at the same time. The new one in particular features the many shapes that intimacy can take and shines a light on disabled love stories and disabled joy, chock full of essays, poetry, drama, and more. Yes, 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 yes. 2 no questions asked, I have to read these ASAP, is The Age of Magical Overthinking, Notes on Modern Irrationality, which is by the author that brought us Cultish, but this one sounds even more up my alley. Every time I read a self-help spiritual type story, I am caught into a little spiral of this debate of science and belief and magic and facts, and mostly about intrusive thoughts, because spirituality and manifesting and things like that and intrusive thoughts, they are not friends whatsoever. Quite a dangerous pairing, to be honest. And this book detangles this idea that our thoughts change our reality and like shape the world. I think that this one will calm my mind quite significantly. I also have Legacy, A Black Physician Reckons with Racism in Medicine by Uchi Blackstock. One of my most treasured resources on my shelf is this book called Unwell Women, which is all about how modern medicine fails women. But you know who else modern medicine is consistently failing at a horrific, disproportionate amount? Black individuals. And this one is written by a Black physician. She and her sister are now both doctors, and they have come face to face with the racist practices and systemic inequalities in the medical field. It just seems so strong and important, and like a great buddy read or like companion read to Unwell Women. And last but not least, we have some autism-specific nonfictions that are coming out. And you know what's so amazing about this category is that I don't even need to technically give you a synopsis on any of these books, because the titles alone tell you exactly what you're in for. So who has the communication disability now? Oh, wait. The first on the list is Love and Autism, 5 True Stories About Neurodivergent Life and Love by Kay Care. So this is a narrative and nonfiction journalistic approach to the topic of loving while autistic. Our author has multiple folks that they interview in order to offer hopefully a broad range of experiences on this topic. We also have Feeling Fast and Slow, How Autistic People Feel Far Too Much and Far Too Little All at the Same Time by Yorick Mole. This is written by an activist, and they analyze the stereotypes surrounding autism and how contradictory they are. We dissect the prejudices that stem from this, and I can safely assume tackle practical, how impossible it is to fit into everyone's inaccurate boxes. It sounds so solid. And last but not least, we have The Autistic Survival Guide to Therapy by Steph Jones. And this is, again, exactly what it says on the tin. It seems like such a wealth of knowledge. Our author is not only a late diagnosed autistic woman, she's also a therapist herself. So this just seems perfect. So she takes her own experiences, but also talks to other autistic folks and also other therapists to quote unquote confront the statistics, inadequate practices, and ableist therapists head on, and poses the questions of how we can make therapy neurodivergence affirming and how to create safe spaces for autistic individuals. So I think what this book is going to do is not only teach me how to do therapy better, but help me help my therapist help me better. I hope. We'll see in February, I guess. And that's it. There you have it. Those are 35 books that are coming out in 2024 that I am so excited to hopefully get around to. Are there any of these books that you've already pre-ordered, or are there any here that have seriously spiked your interest and now I've enabled you to make your TBR even bigger? I'm sorry, but also you're welcome at the same time. But this can be a two-way street, you know. Please let me know what books are coming out this year that you're so excited about that I've missed that aren't on my list, and we can both harm each other's wallets together and fill each other's rooms with more wonderful stories here in this cozy corner of the internet. You know the drill. Speaking of cozy corner of the internet, thank you so much to everyone on patreon.com who make it possible for us to do what we do here. I appreciate y'all so much. If you would like to join the book club, get funky fresh downloadables, join the Discord, and so much more, that will be linked down below. I had so much fun with this. I've never done one of these videos before. It was so much fun to research. I'm so much more excited for this year now, and I hope you are too. And as always, thank you for clicking, thank you for caring, and thank you for being nice. I will see you in the next one. Bye!